We're here to have real conversations with the real people you want to hear from about real topics that you really want to learn. And we're here to help you open up with real thinking. We're here to open up your awareness and help you become the real you. Welcome to the Wake the Bleep Up Show. Welcome everybody to the Wake the Bleep Up Show, where we talk with real people, have real conversations with real people about real topics you want to hear about and help get you into some real thinking. Today, we're joined with my friend Drewbie Wilson, who is the founder of Call the Damn Leads. He's had a huge story of overcoming adversity with some weight loss and growing some businesses. I mean, let's just let him tell the story. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Drewbie.
Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to be here. Thank you to the listener for sharing a little time with us today. As you're going to hear me say a lot, time is your most valuable asset. So the fact you're spending a little bit with us today it means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to Tony, and I'm excited to share with you guys a ton of value and, a little fun to make this worth it be your time here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we really get into it, for those out there that don't know who you are, let's hear a little bit about you, including your story of overcoming that weight loss and where you really took off from there.
Yeah, so I could sit here for probably the next couple of hours and bore you guys. I won't. I'll give you some of the fun little snippets and also tell you that if you would like what you hear today, I've written 3 different books over the last couple of years, so you can go and, dig a little deeper into my story on those. But the long and short of it is, man, I grew up a hustler. My mom was a single mom. My dad was in and out my whole life, so I kind of had not the worst upbringing, but it certainly wasn't all sunshine and rainbows either.
Mhm.
And within that, I had to learn a lot about who I was, a lot about life. And what I realized is that even though I didn't think about it early on, I'm a sales professional. I've been in sales. I've been hustling forever. I grew up in the streets selling anything and everything I could get my hands on because, again, my mom was a single mom. She provided the best life she could. And also there was more that we wanted. So we had to go and hustle it up and get what we not only wanted, but needed sometimes out of life. And within that, I had some other things as far as I was always that husky kid. I was wearing adult size 30 some pants in junior high school. I remember I was always shopping in the adult section and had to hem my pants like 4 inches because I was real wide, but not real tall.
Right.
And so, I say all that because I didn't have like that storybook childhood. It was a little rough. There was some things that I went through and kind of gave me some self-confidence issues, I guess is the best way to put it. And as that progressed into getting older, I didn't like being in the public eye. I kind of liked being behind the scenes. I was playing video games. At one point, we were playing video games during the nighttime, and when we were at school, we were having AI bots play the video game for us. And when we got home, we'd collect all the in-game items and we'd sell them on eBay and PayPal and shit. So it was like we were in the NFT business before it was cool. We were selling in-game gold instead of crypto. And I swear, had I known then what I know now, I wouldn't even be here because I'd be rich and on an island somewhere. But, hindsight's 2020 and school is expensive, right? So we have to look back on our lives and take these lessons and say, okay, well, what did I learn here? And how can I apply that to what I want in the future? And that, for me, was the big shift. Probably, what is this, 2024 when we're recording this? It was probably 2016, 2017 is I had gotten married. I had a young son that was born. He was probably 9, 12, 10 months old. And I was a little bit overweight because I had gotten chunky again with my wife. I was down to 200 pounds when I met her. I was in shape. I was doing good. But then we started dating and then we got married and I got comfortable because I didn't have to work so hard anymore. So I put on the weight. We had the baby, and I don't know if you have any kids, but if you are listening and you have kids, you know that pregnancy sympathy weight is a real thing. I think we ate Thanksgiving turkey dinners every night for like 6 weeks straight or some nonsense.
Right.
And so that was my life. And this is pretty typical of what most of us go through on our journey, right? These are all things that sound pretty good. You got married, you had a home, you had a kid. That's wonderful. But at the same time, all of these good things that were happening, I still didn't feel fulfilled. I still didn't feel like I was fulfilling my purpose, like I was living out who I was supposed to be. I was just getting by. I was reacting to what the life was giving me instead of being proactive about getting what I wanted and what I truly deserve. And so that was kind of that shift. I was overweight. I wasn't happy with how much money I was making. I wanted more. And I realized it was up to me to make that change. So the first thing I did of all the things to like get in shape and do any of this is I started waking up earlier. And that was like a big shift because not only did I wake up, but I started doing a couple things in tandem with it because A, I was out of shape and I was like, well, I don't want to work out. I don't want to appear weak. I don't want to go to the gym because I don't want people to see me look weak. So I'm going to go and I'm going to walk in the dark where no one can see me. I'm going to be by myself. I'm just going to get moving because I'm already awake. I got to get out of the house anyway. And during that time is when I found podcasts just like this.
Yeah.
I was listening to, a podcast like this, Ed Milet, Eric Thomas, on YouTube, all the Motiversity. I mean, there's tons of channels now, but back then there weren't as many, but still you could go and find all the famous speeches and movie scenes and they compile them all up. And that's what I would listen to on repeat every morning.
Nice.
And it started me on that personal development journey. Same time in my business, I was great at sales. I was an insurance agent, but realized, hey, man, it doesn't matter how great at sales I am. If I don't have more leads, more people to talk to, I'm never going to break the six-figure barrier. And, considering I was a high school, almost dropout drug dealer that probably should have been dead or in prison, the fact that I was still making money was cool, but I was like, this isn't enough. So I learned marketing, which led me to opening a marketing company. That marketing company led me to an opportunity to working within an up-and-coming startup out of Texas, at which point I moved my family from Ohio to Texas, got in with the company there. We built it. I was employee number 3, all the way up to, I think when I left back in December of 23, there was probably 60 employees in the company. They were doing $10+ million a year. I had built a sales team. We had done some pretty amazing things. I had written books, spoken on stage, traveled all over in private jets, all these cool things. But it still came back to time because when I left for Texas to be an entrepreneur, I wanted freedom. And what I built was a job that wanted me in an office from 8 to 6, Monday through Friday, managing people, all of the things that were not freedom. And so I had to have that hard conversation once again of what does it mean to wake up and live the life that I want to live every day? And so we walked away from the big corporate salary. We sold our house in Texas. We moved into this 5th wheel RV. We're rebuilding our Call the Damn Leads brand and business, and we get to live our life by design. And it is by far one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. And I get the pleasure of sharing with your listeners today.
That's awesome. And I love that story. And I love that you said you walked away knowing that even though you had that big salary, you're like, nope, I'm not living my purpose. I'm not fulfilling it. I don't have the time that I've wanted, that I was working towards. I said I was doing this to get the time with the family, with the kids, wasn't happening. So walking away, that's huge. And back to the, just even your brand, Call the Damn Leads. It's most people are so afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody. It's even more so fearful for most people to walk away from something like that, knowing, even if they know deep down that their purpose is something else. So I give you a lot of credit for that. That's huge. Now,
thanks, man. And it wasn't easy. Trust me, to go from making $30,000, $40,000 a year to making 10 times that amount and then walking away from it to start back at zero and having to figure out how to get where I was, like, it's not easy. Right. But there was so much joy to being able to have that confidence in myself and to be able to look at my wife and my son and go, hey, listen, we're walking away from something that most people would dream of or kill to have. And we're doing it by choice, and we're doing it so that we can build better. How cool is that?
Right. So how old's your son now?
He is 8 years old.
8 years old. So are you guys homeschooling him based on the travel and everything, or?
Yes. So he's been in private school the last couple of years. I was investing in mentorship, spending a lot on education. So we made sure to do the same for him. And, I think the first year of it, he got a lot out of it. The second year, not quite as much. This year, we're very much excited to bring him, homeschool him. Honestly, man, a lot of with our son, we really want him to get real world experience. Yeah. Something my wife and I both kind of went through is like, we did the school and we did just enough to get through the schooling because we realized a lot of that was just to teach you to be a worker bee. And once we got out of that and became entrepreneurs and learned how to build our own businesses, like, we understand the value of school, and also we want our son to be more in line with what you really need to know to live and be successful in today's world, not what was designed back in the 1920s or whatever it was.
Exactly. Exactly. No, you're exactly right. And that's, we're the same way with our son. We're not real high and mighty on the schooling just for that reason, because it's teaching you to be a worker bee. And so that's not what we want for him, nor do you want for yours. So I get it. I completely get it. And now you mentioned getting up early. So I got to ask, are you still getting up early? And what does your morning routine look like?
4 a.m. that alarm clock goes off every day. And so for 5 years when I lived in Texas, and the couple years prior to that, I mean, this was just routine. 4 a.m. the alarm clock goes off. The first thing I do is I pick up my phone and I write down the 5 things I'm grateful for in a little app that I have, because gratitude is that first feeling I want every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because first of all, I got to open my eyes and take my breath. Like, that's a big opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's going to get that chance. So to be able to wake up, I'm grateful for that. And then I reach over and I grab my wife, and who's still there, and I go, thank God she's here. Because at one point I almost lost my family from very selfish decisions and a lot of stuff we could get into. But, she's still there. So I'm like, oh, thank God she's still there. Then I think, oh, well, my son's in the other room. Thank God he's still there. Usually there's a couple other things that I'm like, all right, I'm really grateful for an opportunity to share with a new audience of people today. Tony, you and I just met here online not too long ago, but we get a chance to really learn about each other and to share today. And I think that's a great opportunity. I'm grateful for that. I know that one person of however many end up listening to this episode, if even it's just you and I were the only people to hear it, we get to walk away with something of value today. We get to learn something. So I'm grateful for that. And that's just kind of the mindset I get into right away. And I'm trying to do that before I've even gotten out of bed or done anything else for the day.
Right.
Because if I can just be grateful first, anything else that comes up, I can handle. And then I reach over, I grab a bottle of water or a Yeti cup, and I rehydrate, because if you've been sleeping, you're dehydrating yourself all day. So if you want to get a boost of energy, drink some water. It's a crazy thing, but it works.
Yep.
Usually from there, I let the dogs out. I get myself ready, pre-workout. I usually have a couple of dailies that I read. You can see I keep them on the desk. Leadership Promises for Every Day by John C. Maxwell, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, and The Daily Laws by Robert Greene. So those are just like individual pages. It's almost like just like little passages that you can read, just reminders, some stoicism, some wisdom, some things about leadership, just kind of stuff that I want to look at, get something of value from, and then be able to go and reshare in my own way with the people who follow me and my wisdom, because there ain't nothing new out there. Everything that we're learning, all the training and tactics, it's not proprietary. It's something that you learn from someone who learned it from someone else, and you've repackaged it. And I'm okay with that, because I know that everyone learns a little bit differently, and everyone has a different version of success. So my version might not be for you, but some parts of it may. So you can learn from me and learn from you and take it and make it your own.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that's important to me, is reading. And then also, I used to be really fat, and I don't want to be fat anymore. So I work out every day. It's the first thing I do, because it's the last thing I want to do. So I make it the first thing I do every day. And it's not always crazy. I went through a series where I was really big into CrossFit and like Olympic weightlifting, and I did that for a while. But my body started shutting down. I got hurt, and just consistently, it was like I would get hurt in one thing and then heal up and go back, and I'd get hurt somewhere else. And I think it was just kind of my body going, all right, man, it's time to reassess your process here. And so I really focus a lot now on cardio. I do a lot of walks, which is good for me, because it's also kind of a meditation time where I can think and work through problems. But that's usually my morning, and that's, from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. when I walk back in the door to wake up my family, have coffee with the wife and my son, and start our day. I mean, I get a lot done in that first couple hours.
Nice. Nice. No, and I love that you have a morning routine like that. So that's one thing I'm pretty adamant about too, with myself and with my listeners and my clients, is the same thing. So I'm like you. I'm a 4 a.m. club guy, have been for probably about 5 or 6 years also. And so same thing. Now my first thing is also includes gratitude, but it's meditation. So I do 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how my schedule looks, it's 10 to 30 minutes of meditation. And that includes the gratitude piece. And inside
Nice.
it's visualizing gratitude, and just there's mostly visualizing and gratitude. The rest is just relaxing and centering. And then from there, I'm like you. I read out of them. I don't read like daily passages, but I read out of an inspirational book for 20 to 25 minutes, again, depending on the schedule. And then from there, I do the same thing. I get some light exercise. Doesn't have to be anything big. I'll take a couple mile walk. It's getting the blood flowing, and like you said, that's also meditation time. That's time to think, time that you can. It's idea time. It's whatever's happening, whatever's under the sun comes to you, and it's great. And having, I walk with my phone, usually with some nice music going. But the nice thing about having the phone is if you come up with one of those ideas, you have that nice little notes app where you can just go, hey, I'm going to speak this into my notes and come back and check it later when I get back. So that's, and then from there, I just get ready for the day, whatever that, shower, change, etc. So it's fun to have that morning routine. Oh, I forgot journaling. I journal in there too.
That's one thing I've tried, but just can't get consistent at. I don't know what it is. I think it's because I write so much content throughout the day that like journaling to me is just, I don't know, feels redundant, but I'm here for it. I know there's power to it. It's just, for me, been hard to get implemented.
It took me a long time. It took me a long time, and lots of mentors pounding on me that I need to do it. And so I was like, everyone. And so same thing. If you, I on the front of each one of my journals, I write the start date and then the end date when it's actually filled. And there's some that like happened really quick because they, I actually stuck to it. And there's other ones that like, oh, this is a 2-year journal. I'm like, that should have been done like in 6-7 months. So, whoops. That was those times those mentors were pounding on me. That's for sure. So, but it's fun. And it's good to have that morning routine. So what was your like aha moment when you were having this big salary, you were number 3 employee, and then what was the big aha moment that had you decide to walk away from all that?
There was no one aha moment. I think there's some series in life where you could look back and be like, this one specific event changed my whole life and everything about it. And like, I can't say there was that for me in this journey. I think the season that I went through the last 5-6 years was a season of learning. It was like going to college. It was that time of like, okay, you're going to go on your hero's journey. You're going to learn, you're going to experience, you're going to have some wins, you're going to have some losses, you're going to have a whole lot of wisdom that you carry out of this. And it's not the end of the journey. It's just part of the journey. And I don't know if you've ever read The Alchemist or if you ever recommend it to any of your clients. It's one of my favorites because it's a fiction story, but it's very much relatable to real life, especially for entrepreneurs. So The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, for those of you that are listening. But to me, when I think about those moments, it's that series of moments that gave me the confidence to take this journey. Because 6 years ago, had you said, hey, man, you can make $500,000 a year consistently and you don't have to worry about shit, I'd be like, sign me up. Don't even, like, I'm in. What, I got to move to Texas? I'm in. Yeah, come on. We're going to sell the house and everything we know. We're going to up and go. I'm in. I'm in. But that was 6 years ago. That was before I had the experience. I was before I went through the ups and the downs, and I had those lessons of when someone says they are who they say they are, but that's only in one scenario. And then you get them into other scenarios and find out that's not exactly the situation. Or you get into something that you think, okay, this is a lifetime. I'm going to do life with this situation, but then realize that it's not the life that you really want anymore. And it's okay to make those decisions and to make those changes. And I think what happens is there's this tie to commitment and loyalty of like, well, you made a commitment, so if you quit, then you're a quitter. And it's like, okay, I understand that to a degree. And also, if you've committed to being addicted to something that's causing you more pain than good, then it's okay to be a quitter to that commitment because it's not getting you the result that you want. And so it's just these subtle reframes and these experiences, and many of those aha moments, it was like, okay. So it wasn't like aha, I got you. It was more of the, okay, that makes sense. Okay, I see what's going on here. It was those moments that really made me get to where I am to be able to say, okay, cool. I've learned the lesson. I've had the experience and I know what to look for now so that I won't go down that same path again.
No, I hear you. And you're right. there's a lot of people, myself included, who don't necessarily have that one aha moment. We have lots of little moments throughout our time that are just like, oh, make a shift, lean in this way versus this way.
And there's definitely some that are like more impactful than others,
yeah.
but at any one of them, you can kind of spiderweb back to some other moment that got you to that moment. And that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's a friend of mine, Tom Ziglar. Yeah, the son of motivational speaker Zig Ziglar. He likes to say that the secret to success is changing one bad habit into one good habit. And so it's like you said, when you have that moment, even and it doesn't have, it can be super small. You have that moment where you're like, oh, and you just shift. And like you said, when you take that, redirect that commitment from something that's causing you harm to something that's causing you value, and you're changing that bad habit into that good habit. And by being that committed to something of value, you're taking yourself to that next level. And it's commitment is a huge word for me. In fact, that's why we're even here having this conversation today. Because when Drewbie and I started this talk before recording, we've got this, like, you guys can't hear it on the microphone, but I'm hearing thunder and all kinds of rain and stuff behind me. We're having this massive thunderstorm, and when that happens, normally the Zoom will cut in and out. And so I was like, hey, we may cut in and out, but here we are. We're having a great conversation. Things are working good. So, but back to the commitment piece. I wasn't not going to be here. I mean, it's not, I don't care if I have a thunderstorm or not. I'm going to show up. If we cut in and out, well, cool. It happens. But commitment is huge. And I don't think enough people really realize the power of it or put the power behind it, because if they did, they wouldn't be struggling. What do you think?
No, I agree. It's commitment's the first core value in the call, the call the damn leads core values. Like call is our, core values: commitment, accountability, listening, and loyalty, right? We are going to commit to being there for our clients. We're going to be accountable to doing the things that we said we would do for them. We're going to listen to their feedback and understand why they feel the way they do. And we're going to be loyal to their needs and to their services, because if they've trusted us to help them get a result, well, we're going to be loyal to the daggum end to do everything that we promised to do. And that's the thing about it. Commitment and loyalty, they're very similar, but they're slightly different, because you can only be committed for so long and you can only be loyal for so long, because again, at certain points you have to make the decision to what's the value there, the deeper value, not just that, like, is it a core value?
Right.
Yes, commitment, 100%. Because if I tell you I'm going to do something, that's my commitment. And to me, your word, your promise, there are very few things in life more valuable than that.
Yep.
And once you've destroyed it, brother, it's hard to get back. I've
agree.
seen a lot of really, really good people that have a strong word mess it up, and it's not fun. It's not a place you want to be.
No, I agree. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with renegotiating your commitment. It's okay to renegotiate an agreement. If the commitment you've made is not adding the value that you see necessary, then cool. It's okay to shift and commit to something else. But when you do, and you put your word behind that, live it, be it. Don't just say it. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is it's communication. Be committed to communicating. That's one of the biggest issues for almost any scenario, whether it's personal or professional. It's people who are committed aren't communicating.
Right.
And that's why there's such a dissonance. That's why there's a disconnect. That's why, that gap starts to form in marriages, especially, right? I kind of mentioned that earlier. My wife and I went through a season where I almost lost my family because I was so committed to entrepreneurship and development that I was just in this freaking flash exposure, tunnel vision of just cruising. I'm just going. And all I can see is the tunnel in front of me and all this success that's out here. And I'm on the couch watching a movie with my wife and my son, and they're wanting to know where the hell I'm at, because I'm there, but I'm not there. Right? I got that glossy look in my eyes, and my son's wanting to know why I don't pay any attention to him, or why I'm not building Legos with him. And my wife's over there going, who the hell is he thinking about? And what's he got going on in his life that he's up in his room up until 11, 12 o'clock at night talking to these strangers on the internet? Like, what the fuck's going on? Right. That's real stuff. That really happened. But to me, I was building a business. I was building a legacy. And all I could think was like, the fuck are they complaining about? Right. You don't got to work. You have every toy you want. nothing is good. Like, you have everything. What is the problem? But just because I was there didn't mean I was there.
Right.
And that was such a huge transition to me of like, if you're going to be committed, be present,
Present.
be there. And that made a huge difference to me and our family. And that's a lot of what like helped me get to where I didn't lose my wife and son.
Right.
And I get to travel around with them, because until you start to recognize that, it's very easy to get lost in the sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of wife and son, so how did they take it when you, or was it your idea to get the fifth wheel and travel around, or was it a combination, or how did they take it when that topic came up?
That is a great question. So it started when I began my entrepreneurial journey, right? I mentioned, hey, I left the insurance industry. I got in with this startup out of Texas, and I was essentially flying back and forth from Ohio to Texas like every other week, every third week, which for a young couple with a baby at home and a wife who was not as 100% trusting in her husband, who had made some very selfish decisions and things in the past, like, it was very stressful in our relationship. So about 6 months into the travel, I said, all right, cool. We're going to sell everything. We're going to move to Texas, and I won't have to travel as much, but you're going to be in Texas now. So there was some issues, and we did that. And I went to Texas, and for a little while I didn't have to travel. And then COVID happened. And right around that same time was when my wife handed me her wedding ring back and was like, I'm out, because all you care about is business. All you do is work. We moved to Texas. We're here. You don't travel, but you just think about work all day instead of being at work all day. And then COVID came, and we got locked in together and did nothing but spend all of our time together for about 4 or 5 months, right? And it saved our marriage,
Mm.
because to me, I had to learn the time block, because it was like, I couldn't just hang out at the office all day, because the office was one door over, and they would literally be there knocking on it like, hey, dickhead, it's freaking 9 o'clock. Are you going to eat dinner? What are you doing in there at this
Right.
point? Like, you're
Right.
not working.
This episode is brought to you by 7K Metals. All your gold and silver needs, go to 7K Metals. You can get all of your collectible coins or raw materials at cost, and the only true investment in your future is in gold and silver. There's all kinds of uncertainty around cryptocurrency and around virtual dollars, that this is the only solid investment is gold and silver. So go to 7kmetals.com/schmaltzy to check it out now and be a part of this amazing legacy of investing in gold and silver for your future and the future of your children.
And so I was traveling, didn't work. Then I wanted to travel with my wife. So we made that commitment to like, all right, well, if you have to travel for events, your wife is coming with you. And I'm like, this is great. Cool. She can come along. We have fun together. We get to go on dates and adventure. This is great. Except then we'd be FaceTiming our son, and he'd be at home with the babysitter, who was really expensive. And then the dogs would have to be boarded, because she couldn't babysit and watch the kid at the same time, and the dogs. And so that was another expense. And all of a sudden it was like, for me and my wife to go on a trip for 2 days, it cost me $3,000 just to take care of everything at home, not including the trips and all. And I was like, well, this isn't working out at all. We can't, like, that's not making sense. And also, my son's cool and he likes to travel and do things too. So we ended up deciding, like, what are our favorite memories from our childhood? Like, of all the things that we did, what are the memories that stick out the most? And for me and my wife both, immediately we said, going camping.
Yes.
Like, it was almost just immediate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're like, all right, well, I'm older. I don't want to sleep in a tent. First of all, I have no interest in that. I don't know about you, Tony, if you're like an avid outdoorsman and a tents person, but like, I'm not sleeping on a tent. Definitely not on the ground. Not happening. And, we have 3 dogs, and my wife is a little bougier and she doesn't want to sleep on a tent. And so we ended up, and we went on a date day, bought a 26-foot micro mini Winnebago camper. It was just big enough that we could pull it with our F-150. We were like, this is going to be fun. Wasn't too expensive. Got it. Took it out that first weekend. Had a freaking blast. And then every weekend after that, we were out camping. Like clockwork. It's like, all right, it's Friday. We're loading up the camper. We're getting the hell out of here. Wherever we're going, we're going. Did that for about 6 months. We traveled all across the country with it. We took it from Texas to Ohio to visit family. Had a ton of fun. We're like, this is cool, but we need something bigger. Because, 26 feet ain't a lot. So we got the 36 foot. And then we traveled around with that thing and we had a lot of fun with that. And we started thinking like, man, what would it be like to live in this thing full time? Like we started seeing all these full-time travel families and we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. What is that all about? And how does that work? What do they do? How do they make money? And I've been remote before, so it wasn't like remote work was completely outside the scope, but I was just kind of, I have a lot of bills after making a $500,000 salary for a couple of years. My bills increased too with that. So I was like, all right, well, you got to have some things with it. And I don't know, man, we got the bug. And then when things at the business I was with, the corporation started changing and some stuff was kind of going on there, it was like God just opened the door and said, hey, man, you want this opportunity? Do you want to travel? Do you want to go spend time? Because the more we traveled in our camper, the more people we met that we talked to were like, oh, we wish we'd have done this when we were younger. We wish we'd have spent more time with our kids. Like they're all grown and they don't want to come and see us now. And we're too sick to be able to travel as much as we'd like to. And it was just all these really interesting reminders. And as a consultant, someone that was working with 7, 8, 9-figure business owners and multi-millionaire income earners, the most common thread of all of them was, I love the money and I've got all the toys, but I can't get the time back with my family that I sacrificed.
Right.
And now I'm trying to make up for it, but my kids are grown. They're busy. They don't want to spend all the time with me. And even my wife, we have responsibilities now to where we can't go and do all the things that we'd like to do because we built these big businesses. And like, success is a perspective.
Yep.
What I see as my version is going to be different than yours, Tony. It's
Yep.
definitely different than the listener who's here with us today. And if you asked our parents what their version of success for us looked like, completely abstract picture from where we are currently, right? There's no way there's even anything close to it other than we know they'd be successful. That's about it.
Right.
And so as we made this decision, it was like, listen, this is our chance. God opened this door. You have all of these skills. We have this strong bond relationship. We all work well together. We spend time together and we don't pull each other's throats out. And like, some people can't spend all their time together. Let's just be honest with each other.
Right.
We've been very blessed. And so we made that commitment and we said, let's do it. We're going to sell our home. We're going to go all in and we're going to do this because this is our chance. And if we hate it, at least we can say we had the experience and we tried it.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst that happens? We go back and buy a house. We go rent an apartment until the housing market comes back down because it's freaking out of control right now. Like, we pivot. That's life.
Yeah.
But what if we get to go and we get to have all of these experiences and make all of these memories, and we get to share that journey now with other people who see it as an example of what's possible if you just call the damn leads, if you just do the work, and if you just trust the process.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. No, that's great. That's a great pivot. Great story too. And you're right. And as soon as you asked that question, before you even answered, my mind went to camping also. So
isn't that wild?
And it's funny because with my family and I, our girls are grown, our son's 17, and we spent a lot of years tent camping. And it was funny how the migration worked. We started in a tent on the ground, and then we get one of those little little foam pads, and then we got an air mattress. And last time I remember being in a tent, we had one of those like 2-foot tall, like super fancy, mattresses that barely fit in the back of your truck. So, but we haven't camped in years now. Same reason. We're like, all right, that was fun when we were younger. Now, not so much.
Bro, go get yourself a freaking trailer. You can get like some really nice ones for like $200 a month or something.
Right.
And you can haul them with like any basic SUV or minivan and you will have an absolute blast. I know I sound a little trashy, but like, man, the RV community is one of the kindest groups of people I've ever met. And if you know, cause you've been camping. So like if you've ever gone to campsites, like people there are just so wholesome.
Yep.
And, especially for those of you with younger families, my son has played with more kids and had more family experiences in the last 6 months living in this RV than he did living at our $500,000 home 2 blocks from a elementary school in 2 years of time. We literally walked that school playground every day for 2 years almost. He met maybe 4 or 5 kids.
Wow.
Like, it's crazy And again, that could have been on us. Maybe it was just the way that we went about our routine, but the fact that he every day has someone new to play with, he's getting to meet people, he's getting to experience things, like it's awesome what can happen.
That is awesome. So I got to ask, I know a little bit about it. So how did you come up with the brand name Call the Damn Leads?
So I had mentioned earlier, I was in the insurance industry for a number of years. I was one of the top producers in my market. I was the lead sales guy for the agent that I worked for, and also responsible for all the technology, all the back end stuff. And so, as kind of a nerdy guy, like I said, I grew up playing video games. I've always been computer savvy. I'm like, what do I need to do to make more money? Like, I'm a sales guy, I've got leads, I've got all these systems and processes that I'm developing and working on. Like, what is this thing that's missing? And I started looking at it, and it was like, well, you're great at sales, but the leads that you're buying are being sold to multiple vendors, and they're not qualified, or they're bad information. So it's like, all right, well, how do I get a better quality lead, or how do I get more leads for less money? Like, it's kind of a math ratio, right? What resources do we have? So I went online and I started doing some research, and I'm seeing all these different Facebook groups. And, again, this was probably 2016, 2017. So it wasn't quite as popular as it is today to just go high level account, throw up a sales funnel, and like all of a sudden you're in marketing. But I was like, all right, well, what are these guys doing that are saying they're insurance agents, and they're saying getting these leads for like $1 a piece, $2 a piece. And I was like, all right, well, let me figure this out. So I went on to a Facebook group, and I was going to pay these guys like $1,500 to teach me how to set up a Woofu form and run ads to it to get insurance leads. And you're laughing because Woofu is like a popular software from 5 or 6 years ago. And it was literally just like boxes where you'd put information. It was just a form you'd fill out.
I used the hell out of Woofu back in the day.
Oh, hell yeah. I wish I probably could pull a Woofu account up with a few thousand leads in there, and I'd probably have some good money in there for an insurance agent. Like, I got the aged leads. You can buy these $1 a piece. They're good. And so anyway, I started learning, like, these guys want to charge me $1,500. And I go, that's awesome. I don't have $1,500. I'm interested. Let me go talk to the agent, see if he'll match me on it or figure it out, and we'll go from there. And these guys are hard closers, and they're like, well, if you don't do it, it's going to go up, this, that, whatever. And I'm like, cool. I literally do not have the money, but I'm going to go try to get it because I want to learn. So I went to the agent, and the agent goes, no, I'm not going to spend that money. Just go buy some more leads from the vendor and just do what you do. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. We're going to spend $2,000 at the vendor for a bunch of shit leads, or I can go and learn how to make them myself. And he's like, no, just go buy them from the vendor. Okay. So I go and I call the guys back, and I'm like sweating and I'm nervous, and I'm holding my credit card, and I'm like, all right, guys, here's the deal. This is like 2 mortgage payments, and I'm going to do it on my credit card that I don't really have the limit on or shouldn't be doing it on, but I know this is going to work. Set me up. And they're like, hey, sorry, man, you're too late. We sold your spot to somebody else. Like, what the fuck? Yesterday, you were hard closing me to get my money like I was going to die if I got off the phone, and now you're telling me no? So I was very confused, first of all. Second of all, I was a little frustrated, and I'm like, you got it, boys. You don't know me that well, but I'm going to figure this one out just to spite you because I'm frustrated now. I'm mad. So I went online to another Facebook community. There was a guy that was rolling out a new software tool to build landing pages. And that's essentially what a Woofu form is, right? It's just a website or a landing page that you send traffic to. People put their information in. You get to call them as a lead, right? You get to call the damn leads. So I start learning marketing. I use this software. I'm starting to have some success with it. I start generating some insurance leads, working really well. I start doubling production, which is cool, but it's not making me a lot of money. It's just making the agent a lot more money and me having to do a lot more work. But I'm learning a skill set. And I start getting calls from some other insurance agents, and they're like, hey, man, you're doubling your production. Like, what are you doing over there, and is it legal? Because
that's always the first question. Is it legal?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, hey, man, are you running drugs, or what the hell's going on? Are you writing fake policies? Like, you got dead people that are running votes over there. What's the situation, bro? And I was like, you guys, I learned how to do these Facebook ads. I'm using this software and I'm building these websites and I'm getting leads for like $2. And they're like, that's fucking awesome. I'm not going to do that, but I'll pay you if you can set it up for me. And I was like, really? I was like, how much? And they're like, well, I was going to spend $2,500 at the lead vendor. I'll give that to you. Fuck yeah. All right. That sounds pretty good. So Tony, I made 10 grand in a weekend setting up insurance ads for these guys. I'd never made 10 grand in a month.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most I'd ever made was like 6 grand one month. And that was like a lot of insurance I sold. And I made 10 grand in a weekend. And I was like, whoa, I'm in the wrong business. What am I doing here? So I started a marketing company and I got a handful of clients, a couple insurance agents, a couple mortgage people, a real estate agent or two. And I'm like making a little bit of money on the side of my insurance gig. And of course, now my insurance gig is falling apart because I'm not paying much attention over there because I'm trying to learn this marketing stuff. So I'm like, shit, I made 10 grand in a weekend. What the fuck am I doing in insurance?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't realize that a startup business always gets really lucky at first, and then it kind of falls off when you start getting the people that are like, I was really excited, and then I didn't do the work, which is what happened to me. I got one agent in particular. He had a condo he was listing out in Utah. And so I set up the ad for him. I think he got 100 leads in like 3 weeks. And I was like, hell yeah, this thing's crushing it. And he calls me and he's like, hey, bro, this thing sucks. These leads are no good. I'm calling them. They're not answering. Like, I'm going to need my money back. Oh, what? I was like, out of 100 leads, you're telling me not one? He's like, yeah, I'm not. They suck, man. You need to send me my money. This is bullshit. And I was like, well, let me check into it and call you back. Do you mind? Like, let me figure out what's going on here. And so I start picking up the phone. Hey, this is Drewbie over at such and such. I saw your information about this condo. Just wanted to follow up with you. And they're like, yeah, I've been calling, trying to get a hold of somebody. I'm interested. I want to look at it. Can I schedule an appointment? I'm like, well, yeah, what day do you want to come? And I started scribbling. No way, that's a fluke, right? Okay. So I call a couple more. One guy is like, hey man, yeah, I went by the place. I found it on, Google Street View or whatever the hell. I'm ready to write an offer on it. Like, where can I send it? I have an offer ready to go from my agent. Where do I send it? I was like, you can email it to blah, 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 blah. He's like, all right, cool. It's on its way. So I hang up and I'm just looking around and like I'm in my basement and I'm just looking around at myself like, there's no no way.
This episode is brought to you by My Genius Leads. My Genius Leads is an AI-powered lead generation system that you can use through social media platforms to help bring more people into your business. Doesn't matter if you're a coach, a consultant, a network marketer, an affiliate marketer, or just somebody who's selling a product, My Genius Leads can work for you. So go to mygeniusleads.com/Tony Schmaltz to get your introductory offer for your risk-free trial and be a part of this phenomenon, this AI phenomenon that is creating wealth around us. mygeniusleads.com/Tony Schmaltz, and we'll see you on the other side.
So I called the agent back and I'm like, listen, man, I don't know what's going on or what you're doing over there, but here's half a dozen people that I talked to who said they would actively like to check it out and see what's going on. And here's a signed contract on the property at listing price. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do with this thing because I'm not a real estate agent. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express one time, but like that's the extent of my real estate skills,
Okay.
I think you probably just need to call the damn leads. Here's a refund. Please don't ever call me again. And it was like, that was it. And then I went to my buddies who were also in marketing and I was like, guys, I literally just fired a client and told him to call the damn leads. And they're like, yeah, imagine if all of our clients would just call the damn leads. We'd all be rich. And I joked and I laughed. I was like, someday I'm going to put that on a t-shirt and I'm going to sell it to all the other marketers that I know because they're going to think it's fucking hilarious because like this is the #1 issue for marketing agencies is their clients don't call the damn leads. And that was that. And that was back in 2021. I had this idea. And it just kind of sat there on the back burner for a while. And then I built a little Shopify store and I paid a guy to kind of set up a few little logos for me. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And I did a little bit with it. And it sat as a dormant idea until October of 2023 when I really started pushing it. And I was like, no, there's something to me. I got like this download from God that was like, no, this is it. And I'm really, really, really grateful because in 2021, when I had the idea originally, I was also learning about trademarking and business assets.
Mm.
And my silly ass went and trademarked, called the damn leads, and spent, I don't know, $1,500 or something that I probably didn't need to spend at the time and probably didn't have, but was like, I'm gonna go spend it. And this is important. I'm gonna get this trademark, right? This is a thing I need to learn how to do. And I'm so grateful I did, Tony, because this brand has changed my life. It's given me an opportunity to get out and help people and to promote and to just bring a little bit of laughter to an
Mm-hmm.
industry that is filled with rejection and negativity and hardship and struggle and an opportunity for greatness, because it doesn't matter what background you come from, what personality you have, where you're from, what you've been through. If you get into sales and you work hard, you can be massively successful.
Yes.
But you still have to call the damn leads. You still have to do the work. And that's really where it all came from.
Yeah. No, and that's awesome. That's awesome. And so it was funny because before we even got scheduled to have this podcast, have this show, you know, a mutual friend of ours invited me to your Facebook group, and I was like, all I did was see the name. I'm like, call the damn leads. Hell yeah, I'm in. I'm in. I'm like, this is me. So I have a free referrals course I give out as a lead magnet, and it's all about referrals. And the first thing I tell everyone in that, I'm like, pick up your damn phone, go through. You've got probably anywhere from 250 to 500 people on there, and I guarantee you haven't talked to any of them except for 10 in the last month. Start calling them. I said, well, what do I say? Well, you first, you just have a general conversation and catch up. And if it sounds like something that you might want to continue on about what you do, cool. If not, you say, hey, this is what I do. Who do you know that I could talk to about this? You know, it's like, but you have to start with the phone. They're like, well, I'll send them a text. No, God, just pick up the phone and just call. It's like, I mean,
I should send you a
times?
bunch of memes, Tony, so we can like cut them in here during the episode of like, I have so many memes like that where it's like, hey man, I sent you a referral, but you didn't call. And it's me like standing there with a knife ready to stab him. Cause it's like, what are you doing? Silly. You're right though.
And so many people are willing to help. If they're themselves are not interested, oh, but I know this guy. Cool. Let me talk to that guy. And even then, they're even willing to introduce you. They'll be like, here, you know, that might be an email or a text, but then you immediately pick up the phone and call them. As soon as you get that number, call them or get them on a Zoom, whatever, something where you're verbally talking to this person.
You know what? And here, I'm going to share a little tip with the listener too, because again, I own a business named Call the Damn Leads. And also, I don't answer my phone unless I know specifically what the conversation is about. So even if I am a lead and you called me, I'm probably not going to answer it. But here's the methodology that I use that I've been working with and I share with my clients that works really well. You pick up the phone and you call. And if they don't answer, you send them a text message that says, hey, I'm so-and-so. This is the reason that I'm reaching out to you.
Mm-hmm.
More than likely, it's because they requested information from you. Like, you're not cold calling them. You're following up with someone who's asked for something from you. They've gotten their free download. They've done whatever thing. I'm following up to provide XYZ resource that you asked for or answer whatever question, right? What's the query that got them there? And then here's the secret sauce. This is one that's worked like amazingly for me. Would you prefer to have this conversation in messages or set up a phone call? I'm good with whatever works best for you. It has absolutely changed the game because most people, when they're filling out a form online, they don't actually want to talk to anybody. They just want to look at information. They're trying to get to the page that has all the details on it.
Right.
Most of the people haven't figured out yet that they're just getting a request to get called by someone. I don't know why they haven't figured it out yet, but someday they will. Point is, part of my calls process is that confirm the reason you're having a conversation. You, sir, made a decision to reach out to me about this thing. I am an expert. That's why you're here. You want my products or services. I'm simply here to make sure that what we do is a good fit to help you with it. And if not, I'm more than happy to tell you that so that I don't waste my time, your time, or any time, because it is important to me that we do so. Now, would you prefer to have this message here? Because this is the thing. they're a little resistant. Most people are busy, and a lot of times what I've seen happen is people try to get someone on a phone call because they want to go through the script, they want to have like their whole little routine, and people are busy. They don't want to get on a phone call, or when they want to get on a phone call might be 9:30 at night, and at that point you're like, I don't want to get on a phone call at 9:30 at night. The fuck, I don't know. I want to be in bed.
Right.
So, okay, well, they do want to get on a call, but not at your convenience. So what I like to do is give them the option. Hey man, you get to choose where we do this battle. Because sales is a little bit of a battle. It's a dance, whatever you want to call it, right? They're going to have their guard up. You're going to go in ready to do what you do, trying to get in the pants a little bit. And that's fine. But they want to do it where they want to do it. So I'm going to give them that choice first.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really fun about this, Tony, is that I can have a one-to-one conversation with one person. I can have one phone call with one person. You and I can only have this one conversation together. If I'm doing this in messages, though, I can be talking to 10 to 15 different leads at the same time.
Yep.
And what's really cool about that is in a conversation like this, if you asked me a question and I didn't have the answer and I sat here for like 10 minutes stalling because I'm like, it would get really awkward. And you'd be like, I don't trust this guy anymore. Whereas in a text conversation, if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, guess what I can do? Hey, take a minute and go look it up. I can get the answer before I respond to you.
Right.
Because no one expects an immediate response in a text message.
Mm-hmm.
You hope for it. You're like, hey, if we're having a conversation, don't ghost me mid-conversation. But like, if I took 5-10 minutes to respond back and I came back and was like, hey, sorry, I was finishing up with a client. Here's the answer to your question. You're not going to be offended. You're going to be like, well, cool. I'm glad that he took time to finish with his client, because if I was his client, I'd want him to finish working on my project before he randomly worked on something that wasn't related.
Right.
So you can use that to your advantage. But that's the thing, is you have to give them that choice. And when they get that choice, you get to now follow the same process, because you're having the same conversation. You're asking the same questions. It's just a matter of where are you doing it?
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly right. Exactly right. And it's funny. I took a course not too long ago on just that, where it was about calling first and then following up with the text message and doing that. It's very, very funny you mentioned that, because I just implemented that about a year ago myself. This episode is brought to you by podmatch.com. For all your podcasting needs, if you're somebody who wants to be a guest on different podcasts, then this is the place for you. I was literally booked on 31 different podcasts in less than 30 days. And as a podcast host, I've been able to find everybody I needed for mine. So if you're trying to get on a podcast or you need people on your podcast, this is the place for you. Go to joinpodmatch.com/bschmaltzy to sign up today. You won't be disappointed, and your podcast experience will be that much better because of it. Excuse me. But yeah, no, it's amazing how many people actually would rather message you than get on a call. Now, when you get serious, you still want to get them on a call. However, you might need to do that initial messaging to get to that point. So it's for everyone listening.
And I always tell people, I'll be like, hey, I'm just going to ask a couple quick questions just to make sure what we do is a good fit. And if so, then we can hop on a call to finalize everything. And if not, no big deal. We can go on about our day. Does that sound fair? And they're like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, cool. Now I'm going to run through my pre-qualifying questions, because I have that for every conversation. There's 3 to 8 conversation questions. And I'm like, all right, I need to know this information in order to know, are you qualified and are you a good fit? Because if not, I don't even need to waste any more time.
Yep. Yeah. So here's I've heard both sides of the argument on this one. So I want to hear your take on this. Text message versus voice message.
Don't you fucking voice message me. Don't you do that to me. Tony, we will not be friends. If I wanted to hear your voice, I would get on a call with you. If you send me a 5-minute voice note, we're going to have a problem. I'm just not going to listen to it, honestly. Right? Just like, I don't know. It never came through. It didn't load. Sorry. What'd you have to say?
All right. I'm just curious, because there's so many people I hear both sides of the argument. They're like, oh, well, send them a voice message. I'm like, because I'll tell you what, if it's somebody I know really well and I know that we're both strapped for time, cool, I might listen to a voice message. However, most cases like you're talking about, we're so busy that it's a lot easier. I can be on listening to somebody have somebody on speakerphone and texting somebody else, or whatever the case may be, without having to worry about that. So it's funny you mentioned that.
And I'll say that I will listen to a voice note. Like if it's important, if there's a deal to be done, I'm gonna do whatever is necessary to get the deal done. Right. Like
Right.
if I gotta take a picture of my foot and send it to you so that you'll sign the paperwork, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm not trying to mess around here. But also, I there's nothing more rude to me than like trying to have a text conversation with someone because you're like, hey, I'm busy, I'm doing this, this, or this, and then they send you a voice note. It's like, that's why I'm trying to have a text conversation with you, because I can't listen to your loud ass voice in the middle of the study hall that I'm in or the middle of this meeting that I'm in. Like, that was the whole point. I'm trying to help you, and now you're going against the grain here. And so, again, I think situationally, maybe a voice note here or there, but like, not every day.
No, and again, for me, it's people that I know, people that I actually know, that I'm not. If it's a lead, it's going to be text until I get them on a call or on a Zoom. It's funny.
Absolutely.
Are you familiar with Ray Higdon?
Yeah.
So Ray Higdon, he's huge on that. I've known Ray for years, and when he first came out with that, because it was when I first heard it from him that somebody else just prior to that had told me, send voice messages, man, do all voice messages. And then Ray's like, don't you say the same thing that you said. Don't you send me a damn voice message. He's like, I got way too much shit going on to stop and listen to a 3-5 minute voice message. He's like, I can send 20 text messages in the time it took me to listen to your damn voice message. So
that part right there.
It was
that part.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I had heard that many times before, but I still get those people. That's why I asked the question. I still get those people that swear by voice messages. And I'm like,
I have a couple of, again, Tony, we're going to be friends after this. I can already tell that we're going to have a good relationship going forward. So I got some funny voice note memes that I'll send you to. I got to make a note. I got a handful of good memes to send over for you.
Nice. That's awesome. So cool. What else would you like our listeners, we're getting close here. What else would you like our listeners to know?
You know, man, I think there's one thing that I really try to hammer home. Anytime I do a keynote presentation, anytime I work with a client, if I go present to a team, the one thing that I really want them to understand is the value of their time. And it's a two-part process, because first you have to understand what is the value of your time now, and ultimately looking at where are you investing that time so that you can maximize the return.
Right.
And so the first part of this conversation always starts with, you know, for me, this all happened when someone asked me, hey, man, how much for an hour of your time to help me with this project? And it was very humbling, because at the time, you know, I was in sales and I was like doing, quote, good for my time. I was making $20 an hour or $25 an hour plus like commissions. But I was doing the math and I was like, all right, well, if I made $5,000 last month and I worked 2,000 hours. Okay, what's the man? And I'm like, all right, well, my time's worth $25 an hour. And I was like, well, that doesn't seem like very much. Granted, growing up, drug dealer, almost dropped out of school. $10 an hour was grunt work to be making 25. That was factory work, but I didn't work in a factory. So I was like, you know, not too bad. But if I was going to work overtime or on a holiday, they'd pay me double time. And I'm like doing this conversation with myself in my head while this lady's waiting for me to give her a number. Again, remember how awkward it would be if you're just like silent for a long time before you give someone an answer?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, how about $50 for an hour? She's like, I'm going to give you 75. I was like, hell yeah, you are. That's awesome. I'll take it. But it was really humbling, because I was like, that's so weird to have to figure out, like, what is my time worth?
All right.
Because here's the really scary part, Tony. Let's say I throw on a hood and I grab one of those big wooden scythe things, like, and I float up to your door and I knock on it and I'm like, congratulations, my name is Death. Tony, you've lived a great life. You're a hard worker. You're amazing. I know you've only got 24 hours left to live. Here's $50. Can you come with me, please? What's your response going to be?
Hell no.
At a minimum, right?
Yeah.
There's probably some other expletives, maybe a few other phrases you're going to like, but like, no, not happen.
Yeah.
Right. And yet, why do people still run around and operate as if they have an unlimited amount of time, or as if they don't know what their time is worth?
Right.
And so here's the equation.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'll let you share, because there's the second part to this, but I want to get your thoughts on this process. So here's the equation that I give people, right? They say that as of 2024, the average household makes $67,000 per year.
Mm-hmm.
The average income earner, $67,000 per year. I like to assume that you're not average. That's why you're listening to a podcast like this. That's why you're here with us, because you're going above and beyond. You're a little more than average. You want to be better. So let's just say if you took all the money you added up last year, your main job, your side hustle, maybe you have one of those like subscription websites where you put pictures of your feet and the people pay you for it. Like, what? I'm not judging, whatever, but like take all that income and add it up, right? Let's say you made 100 grand. If you were average, you'd work 2,000 hours in a year, because you'd work 40 hours a week for 50 weeks in a year. You'd take your 2-week vacation, so you'd work 2,000 hours. So the math on that is, if you made 100 grand and you work 2,000 hours, you're worth $50 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And again, for some of us growing up at $10 an hour thinking that's all we were going to make, 50 is awesome. But others are starting to realize, like, I don't know, man, if I was only had 24 hours left to live, would I really trade an hour for $50?
Right.
Probably not.
No.
But there's a number, because you start to realize that money is a tool. It is a resource that you use in your life to get all the other things that are important to you.
Yep.
To buy back your time, to go be with the people that you want to be with, to do the things that you want to do. Can we agree on that, Tony?
Absolutely.
So here's what's interesting. If we start looking at every hour of the day as a monetary investment, because we start to realize, all right, well, if I know each hour has a value exchange, where am I spending it and what am I spending it on?
Right. Right.
And that's where I kind of did a deep dive on the areas of life that are important. I kind of simplified it down. Number one, sleep. Because if you've ever been on a bender for 48 hours or so, you realize that after that second day, you're basically useless. You know, you can't think straight. You can't do nothing right. You shouldn't operate heavy machinery, and you sure as shit shouldn't make any important financial decisions.
Right.
So we can all agree sleep is important.
Yep.
Then most of us as entrepreneurs, we're trying to do this for our legacy, right? We got a family, we have relationships. This is this legacy we're creating. And I love that. That's fantastic. I have a beautiful wife, I have an amazing son. I want them to have an amazing life. I want my son's kids to have an amazing life, right? That legacy is important to me. I'm here for that. Then we have our business. So we don't have FU money yet. We all got to work still.
Yep.
Sorry. If you're here listening to this, you're probably working and listening at the same time. I get it. I do the same thing.
Yep.
And then interestingly, we put ourselves last, because we have to take care of ourselves, right? We have hygiene, we have fitness, we have mindset, but we put ourselves last on that list, which is why so many of you start to feel burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not fulfilled anymore, you're unhappy, you're unhealthy. And what's interesting though is you run around telling everybody that you are this best version of yourself and that you're doing all of these things for everyone else around you. But the last time you got on an airplane, the first thing they said to you was, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yes. Yes.
And if you don't, you're a burden to everyone around you.
Yep.
So if you're putting yourself last and you're not putting your oxygen mask on first, how can you say that you're living your life in the right order? How can you say that you're being the best version of yourself? Because if you can't breathe, which is how some of you feel every day when you wake up, like you can't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're trying to go to bed at night and you're gripped awake because all of the stress that's keeping you is going to give you a heart attack and you can't breathe, it's because you didn't put your own oxygen mask on first.
Right.
Because you're not taking care of yourself and getting that clarity and getting that confidence and having that ability to show up for everyone else around you.
Yes.
So those 4 areas are really important. And guess what's interesting? We all can agree there's 24 hours in a day. I don't know about you flat earthers and how you figure that out, but like we all agree there's 24 hours in a day here. So if you break that 24 into 4 areas of life, you get 6 hours for each area.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you are like, man, I can't operate on 6 hours of sleep. Okay, well, you've ever heard I told you I listened to a lot of YouTube stuff in the early days. Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, just sleep faster. You go on 8 hours, I get 6, you just sleep faster. It's like, all right, Arnold, you got it, boss. 6 hours it is, man. Cool. But what's cool about this is like, if you've ever spent 6 hours focused on a project and you don't get distracted and you just work, you can get a lot done.
Yeah.
If you ever got to spend 6 hours hanging with your kids or with your friends doing something that you enjoy, it goes fast. You have a lot of fun. It's a good time.
Yep.
You ever get to spend 6 hours in bed with your spouse? No distractions, right?
Yeah.
Pretty freaking awesome if you do it right.
Yep.
You can have a lot of fun in 6 hours. You can do a lot of things in 6 hours. So think about it like this. Now, every day, 4 areas are important, 6 hours for each area. What are the things you need to be doing during those 6 hours? Because if you focus on it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get that 6 hours on those things that are important. You get to spend 6 hours on you, 6 hours on your family, 6 hours on your business.
Yep.
And everyone here right now will agree that if they looked at their time clock from sun up to sundown at their job, they're not working for 8 straight hours.
Nope.
They're working, they're goofing, they're pooping, they're eating, they're scrolling, they're working,
Yeah.
they're scrolling, they're working, they're goofing, they're working, they're scrolling. So if you really want to know, why am I not getting what I want out of life? Why am I not having as much money as I want? Why don't I have the resources that I need to live the way I want to be living? Because you're not investing your time in the areas that matter the most.
Yes.
Plain and simple.
Yes. No, exactly right. Exactly right. In fact, that's one of the definitions of success that I use is success is happiness in the areas of life that are important to you, and whatever that means to you. Now, but back to the time thing, I love that you're bringing up the time, because so many times when working with clients or potential clients, they're like, well, I don't have time for this. Or I don't have time for this. I'm like, first thing I say is, cool, let's see your calendar. Because I mean, back to the time with the family, back to the morning, I call it the morning creation time, which is my morning routine ritual. I've got that blocked out on my calendar. Here's the time where I'm calling leads. I do say call leads. By the way, it does say call leads on that time. I've got here's my morning creation time, call leads time. Here's the time blocked out. If it's not already appointment scheduled, this is the time booked out for appointments. Or if there's no appointments, this is, I'm going to work on projects. This is the time I'm spending with my family. Here's the time with dinner. Here's the sleep time. It's all there blocked out. My calendar is full. Now, there may be time that's considered free where I can fill in with calls or projects or whatever, but it's still something designated for that time. So when you tell me you don't have time for something, I'm going to ask you, show me your calendar. And then I'm going to ask you, how much time do you watch with Netflix? How much time do you watch TV? Because yeah, you can binge watch whatever show you want, but then you say you don't have time to call the damn leads. Come on.
Well, and this is a great tactical thing for people, right? So it's like, okay, well, I'm not exactly sure. I know my calendar's full. I know I'm working all day. I do things. It's not like I'm just doing nothing. The listener here today with us, do an audit, do a time study on your phone, put an alarm every hour on the hour, take 5 minutes to just make a couple quick notes. Hey, what did I do during the last hour?
Yep.
I made 26 phone calls. I sent 5 emails. I went and took a shit. All right, cool. What'd you do at the next hour? Well, I chatted with Janice in department for marketing. I made a couple of calls. I paid a bill online. I scrolled YouTube for 30 minutes. Okay, and then the next hour, it's like I made 50 phone calls because I felt really guilty about scrolling YouTube for a long ass time. So I did some real work for an hour. Imagine that. You can get a lot done when you're really working. It's like, all right, cool. And then I got home and I stopped by the grocery store, and then, oh yeah, I did go and I looked at purses for a little while, and then I had to stop and get gas, and then I got home and I let the dogs out, and it's like, you can literally track moment for moment all the things that you did all day. And then what's really messed up is by like the second or third day, you're going to go, oh, there it is. Now I get it. Now I know why I'm not getting the things, because I'm not doing the output that creates the input for the life that I want.
Right. Right. And I love that you're talking about it, because I actually have a spreadsheet that I send out to people that somebody tells me that here's a time tracker. Let's see. I do half an hour though. I don't do hour. I do every half an hour. I want you to stop and let me know what you've done for the last half an hour. I said, do it for a week.
Brutal.
And it usually does, like you said, it usually doesn't take a week. Usually by day 2 or 3, they're like, all right, I get it. This is where I'm wasting my time. I've got it. All right, cool. So, all right,
fuck
Drewbie,
you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Right? All right, Drewbie, we got to wrap this thing up. So where can people find you? Where's the best place to find you if they links. If you got a giveaway, cool. If not, no big deal. Where do you send them?
Yeah, man. First of all, again, I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to be here,
Yeah.
Tony. I mean, we've got to spend an hour chatting. I think we've had a lot of fun. I think we've shared a lot of really tactical, easy to implement information for the listener. So I really appreciate that. If you guys liked what you heard today, the first thing that you can do is share this on social media and tag me and Tony both. Tag at Call the Damn Leads. Tony, I don't remember what's your tag for them to tag.
At Tony Schmaltz.
At Tony Schmaltz. Tag us. Share this with people. Let them know. That is the first thing that I would ask of anything, because if you got value out of this, share this with someone else to get the value. And then go and visit me at Call the Damn Leads on all of the social media platforms. If you Google Call the Damn Leads, go to callthedamnleads.com. You literally cannot miss us. We are everywhere. And that's the whole point. Because if you're in sales, if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, you understand that calling the damn leads is the secret to success.
Yes.
Are there other pieces behind the wizard's curtain? Absolutely. But it all starts right there. And if you've learned something, you want to know about strategies, scripts, follow-up processes, how to get in the sales mindset, whatever you got going on, if it's sales related, I got some free content that will help you. I've also got training programs, a coaching platform, all the cool stuff, just like you do, Tony, because my passion is helping people dial in on their life and their routine so they can create a sustainably successful life, because I've seen people go really, really far, really, really fast and burn out. I want you to have this forever. So if you guys liked it, share it, tag us, and then go find me at callthedamnleads.com.
Absolutely. Everyone, you know where to go. Callthedamnleads.com. Call the Damn Leads on all platforms. At Call the Damn Leads tag and at Tony Schmaltz tag. And guys, it's been great having Drewbie here. You guys, I know you've heard a lot. Just call the damn leads already. Seriously, just call the damn leads. And anyway, thanks for listening and or watching the Wake the Bleep Up show. And we'll see you next time. See you later, guys.